Hey guys, this is Liz Main here. This is an episode of two courses actually. This is going to be in my Premium Tools for Authors tutorial, and it's going to be in my Tarot 202 class. So you're getting a little preview or a little free sample of another class. There will be a link to Tarot 202 in the YouTube description for this one. Right, today we're going to be covering a tool called Publisher Rocket. If you've been around in the indie publishing space for any amount of time, you've probably heard of it. If you haven't, no worries. It's a really useful, really versatile tool that you can use to find keywords in order to help market your book and to discover markets if you're looking for what book you want to write. It's a one-time fee to buy it, and it's well worth it in my opinion, but if you want to see it in action, I'm going to show you some of the features. Today we're going to focus on finding keywords for a book description. I'm going to have other tutorials on doing other things with Publisher Rocket because it's very versatile, and I want to keep these videos a reasonable length. So we're going to start today with keyword search. We're going to focus on keyword search and then also competition analyzer. We may do a little bit of category search, but these two are going to be the basics. So let's start with keyword search. This is pretty simple. Type in a general idea or phrase, and Rocket will find keywords for your book. Now you can search book or ebook. I'm going to select ebook because that's where most of my sales are going to be, and I'm just going to select shifter. Now if you're in my Tarot 202 class, you realize that I'm writing a book about shifters or wolf shifters, so that's why I'm looking for details of this. So let's select Go Get 'em Rocket. Now in a minute it's gonna populate this with all of the suggestions. Now these suggestions come from Amazon. If you've ever typed something into the search bar on Amazon, you know that it'll give you suggestions based on what you type. Maybe you type in violet and it might populate with violet candy, violet perfume, violet seeds, something like that. This is where this comes from, but I guess it's focused on the Kindle store, on ebooks. So we have Bear Shifter Romance, Dragon Shifter Romance, Shifter Island. I know there's a series called that. Let's just take these ones at the top, and we're going to select the Analyze button. And this tells us a few things. A number of competitors. This is how many competitors we have in terms of books. Average monthly earnings is the average monthly earnings of these competitors, at least maybe just on the first page. Google searches per month. This says people are not really Googling this, which makes sense. They go to Amazon to find it. Why would you Google it when you can just find it directly on Amazon? Estimated Amazon searches per month. That means you get about 2,000 searches per month for Bear Shifter Romance, 5,000, 5,500 for just Shifter. Competitive score. This tells you how hard it would be to rank your book for that keyword, with 0 being the easiest and 100 being the hardest. Now, these scores, they're so competitive. I don't think you want something that's that competitive, but maybe you want something that's more in the 20 to 50 range. If it's a little higher than that, that's not so bad. But let's see Wolf Shifter Romance, because that's kind of what this is, and Shifter Academy. So 60, 85, that's a little competitive, but that's not the only keyword. And as you can see, this is Shifter Academy. It's almost a 10-point difference between these, even though it's practically the same keyword. So keep these numbers, take these numbers with a grain of salt and look at the whole picture. And let's see, Shifter Academy, Reverse Harem Romance. For those who don't know, Reverse Harem means that you've got multiple male love interests, often sharing the same woman, usually 2 to maybe 5 men. I have not read many of them. I've read a few, but yeah, this one looks relatively good. This has a low number of competitors, 700. Good monthly earnings. This is a monthly earning per book, so you would, $1,500 a month for each book on average. Now, one thing about the averages is if you have 1 or 2 books that are just rocketing away, that are on, the top 100 or top 500 in the Kindle store, that's going to bring up the average. So this might not be the whole picture. Searches per month is only 400, but that's not nothing, is it? And competitive score is it's not very competitive. Adult romance, well, let's see. This one also looking good. Fair number of competitors, but good monthly earnings, good in Amazon searches. Competitive score is lower. Now, I have to say you don't have to. If you get one that has good scores, but you think, oh, I don't want to write it, then don't write it. But it's good to have this information. So I'm going to pull up a couple more of these. Shifter breeder romance, bully romance, I do not think so. I don't think that's not really for me. Let's go to the reverse harem one. Let's look at the competition. So this will bring up, these are basically the first page that you get for this. You can load more and see. And this will give you the age of the book. If you see a negative number, this means the book's on pre-order and it's going to be published in 75 days. So you can see this. You can see Fae Mates, and there's all different ones. You can see not all of these they're Shifter Academy. Some of them have like a fairy, some of them are demons, some of them, I don't know, shadow tainted, that could be anything. There's Shifter Academy. The Fiery Shifter, a School for Stolen Secrets, all of these things, Academy for Misfit Witches, these don't all fit neatly into the same sub-genre, some of them, but they're all reverse harem, shifter, academy romances. That's the common thread. So you can see what these are. You can get a feel for the cover design. If you click on that, you can see what the covers look like, usually pretty saturated, eye-catching colors in a sort of night setting with a big moon, and lots of purples and blues and glowing greens. Often for the magic, you have a woman in a schoolgirl outfit holding like magic, like fire or circles, like sacred geometry kind of circles. Case in point, there's Academy Obscura. So this gives you some sense, and of course you can see the categories. So it'll show you all the categories that this book belongs to. You can see this belongs to a number of different categories, and in another video we're going to cover how you can get your book in all these different categories. But you can see paranormal and urban, new adult and college romance, werewolves and shifters. Now the ABSR, if you've never heard of that, that's the Amazon bestseller rank, and that tells you the lower the number, the more books it's selling. So if you saw in some of the previous videos, we went to the bestseller list. If you go on the main page of the Kindle bestseller list, the one book that's on the very top left-hand corner, that's number 1. That is selling more ebooks, more books on the Kindle store than any other book. And that's a lot of books. So the lower this number is, the more sales it's making, but also the more competitive it is. So new adult and college romance this book is number 10 on the Kindle store. That's insanely low. That means it's selling probably over 5,000 copies a day, probably more. And sales to number 1, this tells you roughly how many sales you need per day. So I guess I'm wrong, it's not 5,000, it's 1,000. But still, that's quite a lot, especially for one day. So then the ABSR of number 10, that's number 10 in the category. So the number 10 book in the new adult and college romance is 93, which is really high. Sales to number 10 is 325. So this gives you some ideas of categories you can use. And you don't want the one necessarily with the lowest rank or the highest rank. You want to find kind of a Goldilocks where it's maybe not so competitive that you're going to have to really market beyond the cost of a single ebook, but you also have a market. So these are all similar, but this gives you some ideas of data that you get. Now the authors here, see if there's one author who appears over and over. Age tells you how old it is. This book is over a year old, and it has an ABSR of 13,000, which is really pretty good. That means it's selling, 40, 50 copies a day. That's not bad at all for a book that's over a year old. The price, and then the daily sales, and then the monthly sales. So I guess if the price is $9.99, daily sales, that would be about $14. That's still not bad for one day. Monthly sales, that would be like $320-ish. And then you can, if you press check it out, it will load the book. And there we go. And you can see, look at more now if you want to model your book description on this one. That would, you can do that. There's another video about that, but that's that. You can export competition data. You can also unleash the categories. And that will show you all the different categories for all the books here. And you can look, unfortunately this one you can't sort, but you can export it to an Excel file, and then you can sort each of these columns depending on how you see it. So you can see different categories have different ABSR ranks. These genres are generally pretty well ranked. You've got a lot with the #1 book, or even the #10 book in the top 100, which means it's selling really, really well. Again, keep in mind, these sales figures are approximate, so if you get a lower or higher rank, depending on your sales, it's not going to exactly reflect what you see here. So let's go back. You can also export competition data as a competition analyzer. So yeah, you can do that. You can also go to, let's try Wolf Shifter specifically. There we go. Now you can get more detailed, and you want to probably play around with this so you get different terms, but this is I would highly recommend using this to find some categories for your book and to find some keywords. So for example, I would probably use Wolf Shifter Academy as one of my keywords. Wolf Shifter Dating Agency, well, there's no dating agency, but look at that. Maybe there should be, because we have very low competition, but over almost 2,000 searches a month. Alright, you can hear those are my kids screaming in the background, so I am gonna say sayonara for now, and I hope that gives you some ideas for how to use Publisher Rocket, and we're going to be back with some more tutorials about this very useful product. Alright, thank you. Have a good day.